What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best loadout for zero build in Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 3. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful, informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below what your favorite setup to use has been so far in Season 3. And if you're watching this later on in the season, this video is coming out very early in the season, so some things are subject to change, obviously. The first thing we're going to talk about is going to be your shotgun, because shotguns are pretty much always kind of the most impactful weapon in Fortnite. A lot of your fights that matter and really determine the outcome of the game are going to be those close range shotgun fights. Those are going to be like make or break situations for either going back to the lobby or continuing to play that match. In this season, we have the drum shotgun, the Maven shotgun, and the Havoc pump returning. The mythic Havoc pump is no longer in the game though, so the max at gold Havoc will hit for, I think, is 190. But I think the best shotgun this season for a lot of people is going to be the drum shotgun. It was really just meta in the last time it was in zero build in Chapter 3 Season 2. The exotic Maven is still very good, but as far as like the base weapons go, I think the drum shotgun is just going to be the best shotgun for zero build for most players. You could definitely get by with like the Havoc pump and a spray weapon. It's still very good, but playing against the drum shotty kind of forces that Havoc pump player to be perfect in the fight. If you're using the pump and you're playing against somebody using the drum and you miss a shot, or your pump shot just isn't the greatest shot ever, maybe your like weapon swapping isn't perfect, then the drum shotty player will likely kill you, and they just put out so much pressure in the fight. Whereas using the drum shotgun, it's just very easy to use. You just hold down the trigger and shoot. Makes it easier to focus on like your movement, strafing, things of that nature. So I think for a lot of players, the drum shotgun is going to be the best shotgun in zero build, and it's pretty much like how we had it last time in the game. There is also a mythic version that you can get from capturing the island that, like all mythics, it just has better stats than the base one. Like, it has better damage and a better reload speed. But one insane thing about the mythic is it has a much tighter reticle when you aim down sights, making it a little more consistent in those like not necessarily medium range fights, but like past like 8 meters or so, because like the drum shotty's like main weakness is that it like has a large spread and not very much range, so the damage fall off is very significant. But with the aim down sights on the mythic one, you can kind of extend that range a little bit. So I would highly recommend using the drum shotgun if you're playing zero build. The red eye returns this season, and I think it's just going to still be the main kind of medium to long range weapon in the game. Like, if you guys have played it all in Chapter 4, I feel like I don't really have to go into the red eye very much, but it's very easy to use. You just point the reticle where you want the bullet to go, and you hit the trigger. Some people struggle to control the recoil, but the thing about the red eye is it is fully automatic, but it doesn't have a very high fire rate, so you can just tap fire this weapon, meaning like you press the trigger for every single shot rather than holding it, and it doesn't have very much recoil, and since it has a low fire rate to begin with, it's not like you're really missing out that much on fire rate. I pretty much always tap fire the red eye, unless maybe I'm shooting somebody that's like gliding at a certain angle, I'll hold it, but like most of the time I'm tap firing the red eye. Just makes it way easier to use, and I think that's just kind of like one thing that people struggle with, I guess, with it, is just like they don't do that. I'm not really sure. I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory, but the red eye is just the most versatile, most easy to use, most consistent, most reliable medium range weapon that we have in the game right now. For heals, the slurp juice is amazing. Like, it was amazing last season. Nothing has changed there. The main thing that has changed, though, is that chug splashes were vaulted, which was kind of like the second best healing item. And for zero build, fast heals are very important to have, because you can't really buy as much time in zero build as you could in builds. So the slurps are essential. The chug splash being vaulted, I feel like, made the slurps even better. There are shield fish in the game, which is like the second best option, I think, but you're going to want to get those slurps. You can get them from capturing or opening the vaults that will spawn in at second zone. You can get it from capturing your combat cache, which will spawn in third zone, or from capturing the island in fourth zone. But I would highly recommend doing one of those activities to get the slurp juice, because it is just far and away the best healing item in the game. Also, slap juice can be nice to carry. I'll typically carry slap juice if I'm not able to get a lot of shield fish, or if I'm just not able to get slurp juice yet, because not only is it a decent healing item, you can use it on the move, but also it gives you unlimited sprint, which is very nice this season with the lack of mobility, just for getting around the map faster and just like being in more convenient situations more frequently. It's just nice to have unlimited sprint. One of the most important things, I think, and one of the most important changes for what I recommend using this season compared to prior seasons, is that I think porta bunkers are one of the most important things in the game right now. Typically, I feel like you could get by without them in public matches because you could just use your mobility to get where you want to be or to get out of certain situations. But as of now, the porta bunkers are the only thing that you can really do to change the tide of a fight. Like if you're trying to go to like the island or something, you know, like that mythic drum shotty is good, that slurp juice is good, you want to capture that, and then you just get caught off guard by somebody hiding in a bush or something, the porta bunker is going to be the only thing that's going to allow you to somewhat like equalize that fight once you start getting shot. So in the same way that mobility would kind of reduce the impact of how much just getting first shot matters, that's what you could do with porta bunkers. If you're running around in an open area for whatever reason, just run around with these out. That way the moment you get shot, you can just look down and throw it. And then if a fight does break out, it's also good just to throw these bunkers and then create somewhat of a position of advantage for yourself. And in game, they can just single-handedly determine the outcome of the game, because if you get to zone and you throw a bunker and nobody else is in zone yet, it's very easy for you to win that game because there's no mobility for these other players to somewhat like play the fight out. I feel like fights just don't have as much like depth to them and as much like counterplay anymore with the lack of mobility. Most fights are going to be decided by who's in a better spot, and that's just is the way it is. It matters less about like how good you are at fighting and how you play the fight, and more just kind of the terms under which the fight starts. And porta bunkers are one of like the minor like things you can do to change that. They're very good, but you can also make it to where you have a nice position of advantage in game, and that will likely be the thing that lets you win the game. I feel like making it in game with bunkers and a decent loadout is very important this season. And then the final slot is going to be up to you. You can carry extra heals, you could carry extra bunkers, you could carry a sniper, maybe some explosives to force people out of cover, or you could carry a spray weapon, which is pretty nice. I've been enjoying the flapjack rifle, and while you don't necessarily need a spray weapon to combo with the drum shotgun, one of the nice things about the flapjack rifle is it's very good in kind of like that close medium to like not quite long range, but it fills the void in the loadout quite well, because the red eye is good at like medium to long range. It does that very well. The drum shotgun dominates in very close range, but past like 8 meters up to like 25 or 30, it's kind of weird for either of your weapons to really be that dominant in either of those ranges, and that's what the flapjack rifle excels at. So I've been enjoying using the flapjack rifle just to kind of shore up the range and make sure we have something usable at every range. And another nice thing about the flapjack rifle is it can be good for spraying out cover and putting pressure on people because it has a large magazine, but it can also be very, very good on those island fights. If you're on the island and you're on the house and then somebody is ziplining up or they take a rift, the flapjack rifle destroys them. If they zipline up and you're pre-aiming where they're coming from, there's not a single thing they can do about it. And if you use visual audio, it's very easy to tell when somebody's ziplining up. And then the same thing is true when they rift. When someone rifts, you can pull out your flapjack rifle and start shooting at them. You don't have to worry about ammo as much because it has a very large magazine. And even if you don't shoot them out of the sky, that damage you get on them while they're rifting can be very, very important, because pretty much everybody is using the drum shotgun right now. And that creates a lot of fights where you and the opponent are just kind of like trading damage with the drum shotgun. Like even if you have the best aim in the world with it, it's not hitting for that much. And it's like the difference in somebody who has like insane aim and somebody who has average aim with the drum shotty isn't that big of a deal. So if you're on house and someone riffs and then just like dives onto the house with their drum shotty, it's a very random fight. And even if you end up winning it, you're probably going to take a good amount of damage. That's going to make it for other people, like make it easier for other people to third party you and clean up that fight, which I'm sure if you guys are used to fighting the island, you know happens quite a bit. Whereas if you're able to hit a decent amount of shots at them with the flapjack rifle, even just like 3 to 4 shots on them while they're rifting, that softens them up to where when they do land on you, that drum shotgun fight isn't going to go as long, and then you're not going to take as much damage and you're not going to be as susceptible to getting third partied. And getting third partied is very, very problematic this season with the lack of mobility and the kind of close range meta. Like I was saying, a lot of drum shotty fights are just you and the opponent trading damage, and that makes it to where you're often going to be weaker when you get third partied, I feel like, than last season was. Whereas like last season, if you had mythic pump and a decent spray weapon and you had good aim, you could win fights without taking very much damage. And then even if you did, you had mobility to reposition. Whereas like this season, I feel like third parties are way more problematic. You could argue that they're less frequent because of the lack of mobility, but you know, Fortnite is Fortnite. There's always like weird players hiding in random locations doing who knows what. One final thing I want to talk about is going to be soaring sprints. I think this is probably the most important augment in the game right now, and I am not someone who has enjoyed it in the past. I feel very vulnerable when doing that soaring sprints jump just to get around the map, but getting around the map, it's pretty helpful now, because if you're in any sort of vertical location, it's tough to really do anything with the lack of mobility, but also it can be awkward to push people with the lack of mobility as well. Like if you have someone weak and you need to push them out for whatever reason, like in game, there's going to be times where you need to push people out, or when you know you're getting third party, there's going to be times where you know that you got to push one and just get rid of them, right? Without any mobility and without soaring sprints, I feel like the fight is heavily favored on the person that's already behind cover and just chilling. But with soaring sprints, you can kind of like jump at an awkward angle or kind of fly in a way that they don't really predict. And it can kind of be the difference maker in some of those pushes and make it a little more convenient for you to push people. And soaring sprints with the drum shotgun is a pretty ridiculous combo, and it is very annoying to deal with. So I would highly recommend taking soaring sprints if you can. Shotgun siphon or shotgun striker is another one that's really good, especially with the drum shotty, because you're just putting out so many shots. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful or informative. Like I said, it is early days, so things are definitely subject to change. Some weapons could get buffed or nerfed. Certain items could get vaulted or unvaulted in coming updates that really would change the game a lot. But that's what I think is probably the best setup right now. Let me know down in the comments below what you've been using, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.